This is profit and loss account. Debit items, credit items, we are having two salaries. So 4,75,000 is paid to our staff, whatever staff we are having as salaries. Since it is paid, this is debit now. The credit effect will go to cash and bank account, credit side. Now, less prepaid salary. What is prepaid salary, or for that purpose, prepaid expense? Prepaid expense is the expense of the next accounting year, that is the 31st March onwards. But for any reason, we have paid that same in the month of February or March. Now, for example, say when this in March, the lockdown was announced and many workers had to leave their offices and then workplaces. And suppose they have requested their boss that please pay us the salary of April or salary of May, and now we are going to native place. And suppose that kind boss and that business owner or a shopkeeper has given salary of April in the month of March to that employee or worker. Then in month of March, when that salary is paid, that is called prepaid salary, because it is paid in March, but it is not for that March or that accounting year. It is for the next accounting year. So this type of expenses, whenever they are paid, they do not pertain to the current accounting year. They pertain to the next accounting year. So they are to be shown as expense in the next accounting year. And that is the reason why they are deducted or subtracted from current year's expense. So we minus that. So whatever is the prepaid salary, that is salary for say April or May, whatever, we minus that. Now again, what effect is shown here and what effect is pending, understand. On the debit side, this 25,000 is shown as minus. What it minus indicates, on the debit side, minus means it is not debit. So what it is credit. So if it is credit, then debit effect is pending. And this debit effect is shown on the asset side of the balance sheet as prepaid salaries, which you will see in the next slide also. Office expenses. These office expenses are paid. The second effect of that you will see on the cash and bank account, credit side. Bad debts. What is bad debts? Friends, see, as an accountant, we should not only do the postings and find out profit and loss and then balance sheet we tally and then we get the marks. As an accountant, we have to understand each and every item's meaning, and then only it will make you a good accountant. For example, see, nobody is going to ask you in your examination what is the meaning of bad debts, because that question might not be there. But suppose when you go for any interview and somebody asks you what is the bad debts and you tell, sir, it is debited to P&L and it is minus from debtors. That is not the meaning. That is accounting. As a good accountant, I always believe that we must know not only the effect or accounting, but the meaning of each and every word. And that is what actually I am trying to explain here. Bad debts. Bad debt means the amount which you are having 100% guarantee that you are not going to recover. Why you cannot recover it? There are two reasons main. Number one, that customer from whom you have to recover amount because you had sold goods to the customer on credit basis. So customer had to pay us. Now, when the customer had to pay us, and unfortunately now the customer is no more, means suppose the customer is dead. Now tell me, can anybody of you go to the other world and bring amount from that person? It is just not possible. Or suppose, take a second example. The customer is there, but he is declared as insolvent by the court. When court declares a particular that person as insolvent, when his assets are less and liabilities are more, and when he cannot pay to the creditors to whom he has to pay, then what does the court do? Because then people go against him in the court, a case is filed, and then what court does? Court appoints one court receiver. That court receiver takes the custody and charge of the property of that particular person. All the assets of that particular person are sold. And from that, proportionately, the amounts are paid to all the creditors, and whatever amount that creditors they cannot recover beyond that payment, that is bad debts. So it might happen that one of our customer or few of our customers, they are declared insolvent or say they are no more. So that amount we cannot recover. And after all efforts that we have made legally, obviously we have to make legal efforts, not illegal efforts. And then that amount is bad debts. So these bad debts, we minus from the amount which we had to receive from our customers. So two effects of this is debit side of P&L account, which you see here. And second, you know now this amount you cannot recover. So you have to minus this amount from our customer's account, which we were showing that we had to recover from them. The second effect of this will come in customer's account, that is sundry debtors account. Now RDD. What is RDD? RDD is a reserve for doubtful debts, or it is also called as reserve for bad and doubtful debts. See, as I told you that there are certain customers who are no more or they are insolvent, and for that we have to write off that amount in the name of bad debts. There are certain customers, they are not dead or they are not insolvent, but a customer, see, who is very serious, see, he is on a deathbed, and now the condition is so worse that he might be counting his last few hours or days. And suppose you go there to recover the amount, you know what will happen. The relatives of that person will beat you, and then that the customer of yours who is serious, he will be dead afterwards. Before that, you will die because his relatives will beat you. So in that case, what we know, that person is there, but he's serious. So we don't go in that condition and ask the amount. So we are doubtful. So if he recovers, then he will pay us. If he doesn't recover and he suppose gets passed away, then we will not recover. So we are having a doubt. Similarly, suppose there is a person who is not yet declared insolvent by the court, but we know that his condition is very bad. He has not paid many people and he is not paying you also in last few months or years. So he might not pay you and you are having a doubt. So whenever we are having a doubt for our customers, where again I say they are not dead or they are not declared insolvent, but they are on the verge of getting declared as an insolvent, or they are very serious as to their health, then for such amounts recoverable from our customers, we make a provision, because we go by one very basic accounting concept, convention, and that is convention of conservatism. And here I will take a minute of yours, because these are interested things we have to understand as an accountant. Convention of conservatism says that all anticipated expenses and losses are to be accounted for as and when you understand that, or as and when you come to know about it. And as far as anticipated profits are concerned, the estimated profits are concerned, let that profit take place, let that profit materialize, and then only you account for that. That is convention of conservatism, and that comes into picture here. See, you know, in our real life also, whenever something bad is going to happen, for example, now, the situation we are facing, now it is in a bad condition. And since we all people want to be alive and we don't want to be dead, we are taking every precaution. We are staying at home. Government is asking us to stay at home. So this is a conservatism. And let the things be better off, and then let this corona be out, and then we all will be safe and we can move around. So whatever, say, understand one more thing, friends, that accountancy is a part of social science subjects. So it has got everything to do with the people in the society. And that is the reason why many things which we follow in our day-to-day life, it has got direct connection with our accountancy and other subjects like economics, etc. So this reserve for bad and doubtful debt is an accounting which we do under the convention of conservatism, which says that all anticipated losses are to be provided for the moment you come to know about it. Now, as I said here, in this condition, we know that that customer might not pay us, or he might be dead, or that he might be declared insolvent. So don't wait till he dies. Don't wait till he gets declared as an insolvent. Now you are having doubt. So provide for that RDD as a loss. So we debit that RDD here to the debit side of profit and loss account. And what about second effect? Now, friends, the second effect which I am telling you now, many students make a mistake here, and that is the basic mistake in accountancy. This is not to be credited to customer's account, because this is not bad debts. Bad debts is 100% that we are not going to recover. Second effect, we go to the customer's account, debtor's account. But this RDD is not 100%. Only we are making a provision. That is the reason why for this debit, which is shown here on the P&L account, the credit effect will not be given to the customer's account. It will be shown separately in the balance sheet on the asset side, and from debtors we minus RDD. First, from the debtors, that when bad debts are not done in the customer's account, they are done in the balance sheet. That is separate. But this RDD is always, I repeat, this RDD is always in 100% cases never shown in customer's account, or we call debtor's account. It is shown separately on the asset side by way of deduction from the debtors. See, from asset side you minus means what? Asset side is having debit items. So from asset side, when you minus means what? That is the credit effect. So debit in the P&L debit side, and credit, that is asset side, minus from the sundry debtors balance, that is the closing balance. Then we go to discount allowed. Now friend, this is the discount that we have given to our customers. Now this discount could be of two types. Discount given to customers, and that is shown in debtors account. So second effect of this will be debtors account, customers account, credit side. And this discount also could be given when they make payment towards bills receivables. Suppose any customer of yours comes to you and he is making payment before the time. For example, that small shopkeeper had given credit, say, for 30 days. And for that 30 days, the bill was drawn and accepted by customer. Now, suppose customer comes after 10 days time only, and he tells that small businessman, see, I have money and still 20 days or more, but I want to make payment right now. What you will do for me? Then we will give him discount. And this is called as cash discount. You must have studied in FYGC trade discount, cash discount. This is the cash discount for payments made earlier, before the due date. So this discount will be on the customers, that is sundry debtors, and on the bills receivables. The second effect of this will go to the credit side of customers account, that is sundry debtors account. And if it is on bills, then it will go on the credit side of bills receivables accounts. Now audit fees. The audit fees, the second effect, because it is paid to the auditors, and whenever they do audit, for that they deserve and they bill to the business. So this audit fees paid, the second effect obviously will be on the credit side of cash and bank, because if the payment is made by check, it will be reflected in the bank passbook or bank statement. And if it is paid in cash, a small amount, if it is there, then it is on the credit side of cash account. Normally what we do, unless we have details of cash and check for each and every transaction, we prepare one combined account, cash and bank account. And we prepare cash account separately and bank account separately only when we have details of cash and bank separately for each and every transaction. But here, for these problems in the examination, we don't give you cash account separately and bank account separately. We expect you to prepare cash and bank account in combination. So for this audit piece, second effect will go on the credit side of the cash and bank account credit side. Depreciation on fixed assets. Actually, this depreciation is a non-cash expenditure we call in accountancy. What is non-cash expenditure? Non-cash expenditure is actually the expenditure is not incurred at that particular time, but it is actually recorded because it is a part of your production process or your entire procedure, process of your buying and selling of goods. So this is also a cost. Let me give you example. Suppose today you have bought a fixed asset, say machinery of 10 lakhs. And this machinery you are going to use, say, for 10 years. Now, today you have bought it, and for next 10 years, you are not again going to buy a machinery. And this machinery, you cannot debit to your trading account or P&L account, because this is not a revenue expenditure, which we call in accountancy. It is a capital expenditure. Now, I will take a minute of yours. What is revenue and capital? Revenue expenditure is the expenditure which is incurred for a particular accounting period. The benefit of that expenditure accrues only for that accounting year, and it is not incurred in connection with any capital asset like land and building, furniture, then computer, motor vehicles, etc. And it is not increasing the earning capacity of the asset. So that means for next 10 years, I will not record any amount as far as machinery is bought. But you know, then for each and every production, each and every moment, machinery is used. So when we have to find out the cost of that particular product, the cost of machinery also should be a part of that product. but you can't add 10 lakhs there because this machinery is not giving you benefit only for 1 year. This machinery is giving you benefit for 10 years. So since the benefit of this machinery or say fixed asset is going for 10 years, the entire expense also needs to be divided in 10 years. And that we do exactly in the name of depreciation on fixed assets. So what we do, for example, say it is a straight line method you are following. So in straight line method, what you do, you divide that entire amount in allocate in 10 years. So 10 lakhs divided by 10, say it comes to 1 lakh. Similarly, here in this case, that depreciation, which is a part of asset. Why? Because when the machinery is used for production, its value and its life decreases. And because of that, that portion of that machinery on this estimated basis, which we call depreciation accounting, say by straight line method or WDV method, that depreciation is a revenue expenditure because for that, the benefit is received in that year by way of production, and by sale of these goods, the profit is made by the business. So that depreciation we minus from the fixed assets on the asset side of the balance sheet, and the debit effect is here. So again, I'll explain that. Debit, P&L debit side, depreciation on fixed assets, and now credit effect is pending. How the credit effect is given? On the asset side, from fixed assets, we minus depreciation. So on asset side, which is normally having debit items, when you minus, it is credit effect. So depreciation on fixed assets, as a credit effect, it is subtracted from the fixed assets balance in the balance sheet, which we'll see afterwards. This is advertising. It has come from the trading account, which we have seen earlier. Trading account credit side, goods given as free samples. It is a part of advertising cost. The second effect is here as to advertising. Then to loss by fire. Again, this is the second effect you have seen in the trading account. The goods lost by fire uninsured. So credit was in trading account and debit here is in profit and loss account. Now this same explanation also you will see in the next slide. Now credit side we go. On the credit side we have gross profit. Now this is brought forward from the debit side of trading account, you know. By discount received. Now this discount is received could be from our suppliers, that is creditors, or from bills payables. Again, like discount allowed, this is discount received. When the business makes payment before due date to its suppliers towards credit purchases or towards bills payables, that discount received is income. And you know nominal account rule, debit, credit all incomes and gains. So discount is credited here on the credit side of P&L. So debit effect is pending. For this credit discount, the debit effect will be given on the debit side of sundry creditors account. I repeat, debit side of sundry creditors account and debit side of bills payables account, which we'll see when we'll see creditors and bills payables account. Dividend received. See, in case of a particular business, maybe a small business, the particular business is having some surplus amount which they don't want for their regular business activities, then that amount they might invest in the equity shares or preference shares of a particular company. And when the amount is invested in the shares of a particular company, that company gives dividend as an income on these shares. For preference shares, it is fixed rate of dividend. For equity shares, that dividend rate varies. So when such dividend is received by the small businessman or the businessman or the business we are having in this example, it is shown on the credit side of P&L account. And since it must have been received, the second effect of this will on the debit side of cash and bank account. That is also shown in the next slide, where we will see credit side items. By interest on investment, at times what happened that surplus amount might not be invested in shares. It could be invested in debentures. It could be invested in bonds. It could be invested as fixed deposits with the bank. And whenever these type of investments are made, either say in debentures of a company, bonds of a particular company or government body, or say fixed deposits of any bank, then on that whatever interest is received is again income. So it is on the credit side of P&L account. and debit side of cash and bank account because it is received. Now come to this accrued part. 5,000 interest accrued. What is accrued? Accrued interest or accrued income means it is our right to receive on the 31st March, that is on the last day of the accounting year, but for some reason or for some arrangement made, it will be paid either say April or May or June or some later date. But up to March, it has accrued. So that accrued interest, we have to record. Let me give you an example. Say I have invested 1 lakh in bank on 1st Jan and it is invested for 1 year. So from 1st Jan to 31st March, there will be 3 months interest accrued on that. Say on 1 lakh 12% for 12 months. So it is 3% for 3 months. So from 1st Jan to 31st March on 1 lakh, 3% interest is accrued in my FD. That is 3,000 rupees. So bank will give me a certificate that on 31st March, my FD's balance will be 1 lakh plus 3,000. But bank will pay me 1 lakh 12,000 on 31st December. So this actual 3,000 I will receive as a part of 12,000 on 31st December. But in accountancy, when we go by accrual basis, mercantile method, all incomes accrued and all expenses accrued means what? Pertaining to that accounting year, income or expense is to be recorded in that accounting year only. That is the reason why this accrued interest, it is our income up to this 31st March, we have added here. And since it is not received, see, had it been received, it would have been shown on cash and bank debit side, like 15,000 rupees is shown. But this 5,000 cannot be shown on cash and bank debit side because it is not received. So where it is to be shown, understand one thing, a simple definition I am giving you, friends, in accountancy, how you can understand asset and liability, very simple to understand. Any amount on which we are having right to receive is our asset. For example, land and building, or any amount which we own is our asset. Land and building is ours, it is asset. Plant and machinery is ours, it is asset. Machinery is ours, it is asset. Furniture is ours, it is asset. Investment is ours, it is asset. Our stock is our asset. Our cash and bank balance is our asset. Our debtors, that amount we have to receive from customers, it is our right to receive, it is asset. What is liability? Any amount which is our obligation to pay is liability. So bank loan we have to pay. Then creditors we have to pay to our suppliers. Outstanding wages we have to pay to our employees. Interest on loan we have to pay to bank. So any amount we have to pay is a liability. And for this purpose, understand friends, even capital is a liability. Why? Why it is shown as a liability? Because it is the capital to be paid by business to the owner of the business. And you know, entity concept, the business and owner of the business are two different entities. Because the existence of one, actually the other's existence is not dependent on that. So capital also is liability. So here, what is liability? Our obligation to pay. And what is our asset? Our right to receive. Now here, this say 5,000 rupees which I have shown here is the interest up to 31st March, which is added to our say FD account, which will receive afterwards. But right now, second effect is to be given. Now how second effect is given? This 5,000 is added to the credit side. So second effect of these has to go on the debit side. Now in balance sheet, debit side means asset side. So on the asset side, this amount we show as accrued interest on investments, which you will see when you will see the balance sheet. There also I'll explain you. Now profit on sale of investments. Now what happens whenever we sell any investment or say fixed assets? Understand one thing. Investments and fixed assets are actually not sold every year. They are long term. There could be a short term. Let me give you an example. Now a particular person is buying shares and selling shares say daily or weekly or fortnightly. So whatever he is doing, buying and selling of shares, from that he is making profit. For him, buying and selling of shares is a regular activity. So when it is a regular activity, that will be there in the trading account. Sale of shares will come on the credit side and buying of shares will come on the debit side. Certain other expenses also will be shown, and that trading account will tell the profit or loss made by that business for that accounting year. But here, that is not the case. Here the case is, say a particular person has invested in shares and he's selling those shares for some purpose, say after 2 years. Now here, when he's selling these shares after say 2 years, it is not his business to buy and sell shares every day or weekly or fortnightly or monthly. So whenever he's selling his shares after a year or 2 or 5 or 10, and suppose on that he makes a profit or loss. Understand one thing, friends, we have studied that in first year of our degree college. Revenue expenditure, capital expenditure, revenue income, capital income. I'll come to that. Now, like revenue expenditure, capital expenditure, there could be revenue income and capital income. What is revenue income or revenue profit, we call it, and capital income is capital profit. The profit made by any businessman or any business every year from the routine activity. What is routine business activity? It could be manufacturing and selling, or it could be trading, that is buying and selling. Normally in goods, you know, we have GST, so goods and service tax. So in that goods, what is goods? Goods means those items which either could be manufactured and sold, so that is a manufacturing business, or it could be bought and sold. See the shops you are having around you where these people sell certain goods to you. They are not manufacturing, they are buying from somebody. So what they are doing is trading, buying goods and selling those goods in the same condition is trading. But there are people who buy something, makes something else out of that, that is manufacturing. So by manufacturing they sell. Now, what is our revenue profit? Revenue profit is the profit made in a normal course of business from normal business of manufacturing or trading activities. For example, when we buy and sell goods, it is our revenue profit that is shown in trading account. Sales are shown, purchases are shown, other expenses are shown. But when that is not a regular activity, then that could be a transaction like this. It will be a capital. For example, say, let me give an example. Say I have got a flat. It is not my business to buy and sell the flat. Okay. So I have bought a flat, say 5 years back, and for some reason I am selling that because I have to buy a new flat, say. And that flat today I am selling with a profit of 50 lakhs. That will not be a revenue profit. That will be a capital profit. Similarly here, these investments which are sold, it is not the business of this business organization to buy investments and sell investments. There is one topic like this in TY BCom in semester 5. I must be in BAF also and other courses. So when investments are sold, say after a year or 2 or 3, it is not a regular business activity. So it is not there every year. That means if this type of profit or say some cases loss is made, it is not in every year. So this will be a capital transaction, and this type of capital profit will be a capital profit, and loss also could be a capital loss. So what is done? This type of profit or loss is shown in the profit and loss account of that year. But those who know income tax, many of you will study income tax in 3rd year and thereafter also. In income tax, this type of profit is shown separately in the income tax calculation as capital gain. So this profit is here on the credit side, and for this credit, profit on sale of investment, the other debit effect will be given on the asset side. And how it will be given? It will be actually shown. Now, let me give you in this transaction what has happened. There was investment of 1 lakh and it was sold for 1,45,000. I repeat, this transaction, investment was of rupees 1 lakh and it was sold for 1,45,000. So 45,000 was profit. Now understand the whole transaction. By selling this investment, we have received 1,45,000. So that 1,45,000 you will see on the debit side of cash and bank account, which we'll see in the later slide. So on the cash and bank account debit side, you will see 1,45,000 debit. Out of that 1,45,000, 45,000 is the profit. So for that 45,000 debit in the cash and bank account, a corresponding credit is here 45,000. So let us divide that 1,45,000 transaction in cash and bank in two ways. One for this. So debit side cash and bank, profit on sale of investment 45. And then second effect here on the profit and loss account credit side 45,000. And second effect we'll see afterwards that cash and bank account debit side out of 1,45,000, 1 lakh is there. For that debit, the credit will be given on the asset side. And how credit is given on the asset side? By way of deduction. So from investment, 1 lakh rupees are subtracted. So for this transaction, again I'm repeating, we will see that in the next slide also. The investments were of 1 lakh. They were sold for 1,45,000. So on cash and bank account debit side, 1,45,000 is there. Credit side here 45,000, and then 1 lakh credit is on the asset side minus investments sale. So there you will see the second effect. Now net loss. This is because debit side is more. So this business has made a loss in this year, and this net loss or profit, had it been credit side more, we could have got net profit on the debit side. So net profit is added to the capital in the closing balance sheet on the liability side. But here it is a net loss. Unfortunately, this example, we are having net loss. So this net loss will be subtracted from the capital. Again, see debit. Everything in accountancy is to be understood in the form of debit and credit. And unless you understand one debit and one credit, please never ever go to the next accounting transaction. And if you go like that, then you will never understand any accounting entries and accountancy for that purpose. So here it is on the credit side by net loss, credit side of P&L. So debit is pending. This debit is given on the liability side. How it is given? Liability side, all the credit items are shown. So how this debit is given? From credit side, that is liability side, we minus. That is why from capital, net loss is subtracted. Anybody can ask a question, sir, why it is not added? Again, it is a question of debit credit. Here it is credit. So debit is pending, and the debit in liability side you cannot add, because liability side normally have credit items. And the items which are shown on liability side by way of deduction are only debit. So this credit will have a corresponding debit on the liability side by way of subtraction from the opening capital balance. This explanation of debit side is given in next slide, which I have given you, and credit side is given in the next to next slide. Just have a recap. So to salary, second effect, credit side of cash and bank. I said prepaid salary is less. Second effect, asset side of balance sheet. Office expenses, second effect, credit side of cash and bank. Bad debts, credit side of sundry debtors. RDD, second effect, asset side, we reduce it from debtors. Then discount allowed, credit side of sundry debtors, and then certain amount on the bills receivable credit side. Audit fees, credit side of cash and bank. Depreciation, second effect, on the asset side, we minus it from the respective fixed asset. Here, suppose plant and machinery is there, so plant and machinery depreciation we minus. Furniture is there, furniture depreciation we minus. So every asset's depreciation amount is known separately, and that we minus separately on the credit asset side. Advertising, second effect, it has come from credit side of trading. We have already seen. Loss by fire, it has come from credit side of trading. This I have explained you. Now let us see credit items of P&L, which I have just explained you. It is a recap. So by gross profit, it has come from debit side of trading account brought forward. Discount received, the second effect is debit side of sundry creditors account, and to the extent it is received on bills payables, it is bills payables debit side. Dividend received, it is received, so cash and bank debit side. Interest on investment again received, so debit side of cash and bank. This is accrued interest, not received, so asset side, balance sheet, closing date. Profit on sale of investment, I told you, out of 1,45,000, this 45,000 is debit side of cash and bank. Net loss, I said, liability side balance sheet, we subtract from capital. Let us go to the